Okay, I'm still working on the Astrodoodle, so just give me a couple of moments if you don't mind. So, alright, let's have a look here. Alright, good evening, Gregory. Nice to see you. I know you're over there in New Mexico, and it is one of the desert states, and so it must be pretty hot. Right now, today, over here, this morning, it was about 121 in the shade at the backyard. So there. It's not a competition. I'm just calling out what I see on the thermometers. Let's see. So, I'll come back to this in just a minute. I was just working on the doodle here, and I got a few notes for you. So, greetings. So, YouTube is telling me that I've got a pretty decent signal tonight. All of the software has changed. I've done some tuning and everything because my computer's getting old and it's sort of like it's showing its age. It's getting harder and harder to do the broadcasts. Saranova! Yes! I'm probably going to handle 2, maybe 3 readings. And I can't remember if I owe you one or not. No, I think we did one for you last week at the very last minute. So, yeah, sure. And in some ways, that's the main point of the Sunday night show, is to give people a chance to have a mini reading. Yeah, it's very dry over here. The heat, it's about 4 degrees, 4% humidity. It's hyper dry. You don't even know you're perspiring, losing water, and I'm drinking 2 or 3 times the amount you would. You kind of have to force yourself to drink water because it evaporates so fast you don't even notice it. And if you are sweating, it evaporates hyper fast. Like early this morning, I was walking across a Walmart car park, and I was really hot getting out of the car, and I could feel myself moist. And then it's like walking in front of a hair dryer on maximum heat. It just disappears, and then you're left with radiation heat from the sunlight. It's very, very weird. 86 right now would be absolute bliss for me. Anyway, hello. Good evening, Sarah, and good evening, Gregory. I'm trying to keep people more and more updated with things as we go, because with the astrology the way it is right now, we're in major crises situations. And it's long-term, ongoing type of crisis energy, because it involves the big planets, outer planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, which of course move extremely slowly from our perspective down here on Earth. And so when it grinds into a degree, the impact is lingering for months and months, if not years. With Pluto, it's years. We've been going over this crisis point since January 2020. Okay? Hello, Necessary. I see you. We're still in the middle of the crisis point. It's going to be, I would say, about 2 years before we come out the other side of the crisis point with Pluto. It's going to be about the same with Neptune, because Neptune is lagging behind Pluto. But again, it's very slow moving compared to us, so we're going to feel it for a long, long time. So there's going to be a lot of repeated messages coming out here, but it's going to have different variations on a theme of crisis and desperation as it unfolds. The two primary themes that I notice is the implosion of the global power structure, the elites, which have managed over the last 60 years have managed to build an extremely powerful cabal of power, control, and money at the very pinnacle of their construction. And it's all based on the other aspect of this crisis, which is the unhealthy expression of Pluto combined with the unhealthy expression of Neptune. I'll come to that later on. Sorry, I'll go to that. I just want to say hello and cheers. Forgive my appearance. I stabbed myself with a fork last night. I was trying to eat some food like a normal person, and I missed because I got distracted by something. Thank you. I'll thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Okay, Love Triber. I didn't see that one. That is pretty scary. Oh boy, oh boy. Cheers. Good evening. Oh my God, I needed that. So the thing about what we do here is that even though we're all vulnerable to the same energy, the planets are doing what they do, and it affects everybody. It affects the whole of Earth and everybody on Earth. Every plant, every animal, every body of water, every open field, every ocean, lake, river. It's all impacted by the geomagnetic fields and impacts of the planets and how they relate to each other relative to us. It's a constant push and pull of geomagnetic energy that we can't see. There is a part of us that can feel it, especially if you're like an insect or a bird or a fish. They're very, very finely tuned to the geomagnetic field. For example, on Earth we have the magnetic north and magnetic south, and the axis, the magnetic axis, the poles, the magnetic pole is very unstable right now, and it is shifting around, and it's measurable. It's been pretty stable for quite a long time, but right now in the last 50, 70 years it's become really unstable, and it's now becoming even more stable. And sources are predicting in the next 60 years or so there's going to be a full-on major pole shift, which happens roughly every 6,000 years. So we might be living through that, folks. Oh, I just saw that you're eating a low-carb ice cream bar. Nice, nice, nice. Very nice. There's a couple of ice creams I can have, and one of them is a vanilla. What's it made? I think it's made from, I don't know. I don't know what it's made from, but my body can tolerate it. I can't do dairy anymore. It's very sad. But anyway. Let me go to the chart for a minute. So we'll do the, actually, let's go to the chart. I'm going to make a post-it note for Sarah and put you in line for your mini reading. And if someone else wants to, they can get one too. Let's have a look here. Okay. All right. So we've got a mini reading for Sarah, and we've got a mini reading for Gregory. Okie dokie. That's good. So I'm going to draft up your miniature post-it notes in just a second. Thank you very much for your kindness. And I can't remember. Necessary Truth, if you're there, can you remind me, do I still owe you a mini reading? I've got an old, this is pretty old now, but I don't know how old it is. It's trying to remind me that I owe a mini reading. So I'll put that aside. Just remind me, okay? But in the meantime, we're going to put up a magic post-it note for Sarah. And another one for Gregory. And we'll come to that in a little bit. Okay. All right. I'll just put that aside over here. No, I didn't see that about the bomb threat. Okay, well, thanks. So what we'll do is we'll put this on hold, okay? This is like a rain check, as they call it, at the supermarket. Love Driver knows all about rain checks. So, all right, where are we? Okay, here we are, July. I've already gone over this quite a few times because we're well into July now. Today is the 7th. We're well into it. We just had the Cancer new moon right here. So since the moon is the ruling sign of Cancer, I don't know if you noticed, but I certainly noticed that there was a very surreal type of feeling about a day or two before the new moon, and I'm still dealing with it a day or two after. Okay, so again, that, as far as I'm concerned, personally, that's normal. The lunar cycle, every 28 days, the next full moon is going to be over here. Every 28 days, the moon does its new moon thing, okay? So, yeah, I tend to go through a very deep lull. It's like almost going into a state of hibernation, or just wanting to disconnect from the world and all the emotional turbulence that goes on. So right now, here we are today. This is my astrodoodle for today. I'm pointing out this thing here, this brutal thing here. This is Pluto retrograde on the cusp between Aquarius and Capricorn. And it is like sailing through a transatlantic monster storm for years on end with no sight of land anywhere. And how do you survive? It's chaos. It's absolute chaos. And it's affecting the whole world, especially at the very pinnacles of power, money, and control. That is the global banking elites, led by the Bank of International Settlements, the United States Federal Reserve Bank, the International Money Fund, and all the rest of the global banking cartel. They are in a deep state of paranoia right now because they know damn well that their game is starting to become very, very fragile. Okay? Because their game is based on a profoundly successful optical, mental illusion, or just call it delusion, to which we are all subject. Okay? It's the world of fiat money, make-believe money, money that's created out of thin air through the phenomenon of debt, and the ever-increasing supply of currency, which creates what we call inflation, which creates a form of invisible theft and taxation from we the people that ends up in the pockets of the elites. It's an incredibly successful, probably the most successful act of deception and magic in human experience. It works extremely well. The problem is that with Neptune retrograde and Pluto retrograde, we the people are starting to see behind the veil. The way I see it is that the elites, it's very, very simple. It's just all about power, money, and control. They already have all the money. They already have a vast amount of the control. But the thing that is insatiable, it's like being a complete, utter junkie, a complete junkie, is the power. The more you have, the more you want. It becomes insatiable. Then that's what they're lusting for, is more and more power. And what that looks like from the point of view of we the people is that there's a handful of a few 100,000 global elites who are trying to turn the world into a singular world order that's based on globalized communism, which of course is not a good idea for we the people. The elites think it's great because it works for them. It's how they live. It's the same mechanism as a cancer cell or as a parasite, and it sucks energy out of we the people. As far as the elites are concerned, we the people are simply a vast ocean of organisms that are there to be harvested for their energy, and that's it. However they do it, through the global healthcare system, the global financial system, the global taxation system, the global debt system, the global slave labor system, whatever it is, it all ends up in the hands of these people here. Now, with the retrograde, what's happening is the veil of illusion that keeps the illusion intact is falling apart. Neptune retrograde. Okay? So we the people are starting to become aware that we're getting scammed, and we've been scammed especially since 1913. And people are saying enough is enough is enough. They're looking for alternates. They're looking for a way out. They're trying things like Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. They're looking at gold. They're looking at barter. They're looking at prepper systems, anything to escape the insanity of the elites and their deception and theft. All you have to do is look what's happening in China right now. It's just mind-boggling to see what's happening, because this is all retrograde and the implosion is happening. Saturn retrograde is especially fierce on China right now. So that's why I mark these things as crisis points, hazard zone. These are major, like orange barrel cones on the highway for the whole of planet Earth, for the journey of life for every one of us, but especially the elites and their processes of deception, betrayal, lies, bribery, corruption, blackmail, honey traps, poisoning the people, imprisonment of the peoples, enslavement of the people, indebtedness of the people to serve the elites. It's coming unraveled, and the more and more it comes unraveled, the more and more the elites struggle and become more and more belligerent in trying to maintain their control and power and money. But it is inevitable that there will be an implosion and then a reformation. Think of it as the Tower card in the tarot. Okay, this is like a 4 to 5 or 6 year Tower card moment over here. So that's the couple little points I wanted to look at here. The other point, of course, this one we've been talking about, and this is right in our faces right now. Mars is going to be conjoining Uranus any moment, and I believe that's going to lead to a very obvious cataclysmic event on the global financial system. Again, I'm mostly looking towards China, but again, the United States and every other country, every central bank, they're all interconnected through the Bank of International Settlement. So, like, if one part of it goes down, the whole of it goes down. That's what's so scary. And when I say go down, I literally mean a financial implosion. So, that's happening. And today we're here right now where the moon is in Leo. And we just had a little bit of an opposition there with Pluto in Aquarius. That was just the other day. So that was a very fierce opposition just after the Cancer new moon over here. So I noticed on that particular day that there was some very scary headlines in the financial world, the global financial world. But more on that, because the moon is here right now in Leo, and in a matter of 2, 4, 6 days, what is it? How many days to be, right? Okay, we're at the 7th here. The crisis point for Uranus is right here. Let's call it the 16th. So it's about a week. Okay, in about 10 days from now, there is going to be some kind of cataclysmic event, global financial system. Especially when the moon hits Scorpio, which will be on the 15th and 16th, roughly there. Let's call it the 16th, okay? On the 16th of July. That will be a full-on opposition over here, but we'll come to that. We'll talk about that on the day, okay? But this is the global financial axis that's going to be triggered, and it will be a major crisis of some kind. It'll have what they call a domino effect. That's my guess. And of course, the elites who own all of this are going to find a way to deny and deflect, distract, so that people don't notice any of this. They're going to think, oh, everything's just fine. Whereas in reality, it's like the foundations of a skyscraper just crumbling underneath us all, okay? So Gregory just said something. What do you do with bank deposits ahead of this big crisis? Well, I will give you my opinion, but please, please, I am not a financial advisor. So, where am I here? Over here. It's like a layer cake. At the very, very top in the United States, we have the United States Federal Reserve Bank that works in collusion with the United States Treasury and the United States government. And they issue debt, they issue currency, and all that does is destroy the dollar. Perpetually, downward destruction of the dollar. Let's say we already know that there was a major systemically significant bank in Japan that just went down for 63 billion just the other day. And that's just one tiny example. The whole of China is going down, and they're drowning in debt. They're desperate. They're trying to issue more debt. In other words, sell Chinese bonds. Who in their right mind is going to buy a Chinese bond to keep the China model going? But that's what they're trying to do. And just going to make it worse and worse. China's also issuing enormous amounts of currency. It's a dead end. It's an implosion. We're watching a very slow motion implosion of a whole country and its people and its economy and its leaders. So what would I do with the bank deposits ahead of this big crisis? Well, in my case, I'm not that worried because the numbers involved for myself are somewhere in this range here. But for people who have a lot of money and it's stashed in the banks, my feeling is that if you're well established and you have good relationships with these institutions and you're involved in one of the very, very big banks on Wall Street like JP Morgan or Goldman Sachs or something like that, or in the big, big retail banks in America like Chase, Bank of America, and Wells Fargo, or you're involved in a very small, localized credit union that is extremely safe, extremely boring, then you're probably going to be okay. But there are a lot of like ancillary banks and regional banks that are sort of loosely affiliated to the big 3-4 retail banks. And there's a very perverse game going on where the big retail banks are effectively actually trying to destroy the mid-range banks by starving them of funds while the Fed is feeding funds to the big banks. It's deliberate. It's just like consolidation with corporations. 100, 150 years ago, the whole of America was family farms. Everybody worked and lived on farms, agriculture, small family businesses, and so on and so on. 70-80% of the population lived on the land. It's completely flipped. Now 80% of the population lives in cities and suburbs. They don't like to get their hands dirty anymore. And it's kind of flipped. It's much, much more unstable now because a lot of the global financial system is based on layers of debt and gambling that are based on layers of debt and gambling that are based on leveraged layers of debt and gambling. It's a massive pyramid scheme that's destined to collapse. So, again, in America, we have this $250,000 insurance scheme, which it's just for show because the FDIC has maybe 1% ability to save people and their accounts. Some people I know, what they're doing, if they get any cash, any spare cash in their hands, they're going out and they're buying gold coins, silver coins. They're buying hard assets, if they can afford it. Things like a very useful, valuable piece of property or land, especially if it's a rental property that's got well-proven history with good tenants, things like that. If you still got huge amounts of money in the bank, you can, it's very hard to do, but you can negotiate and spread it out to lots and lots of different banks, keep it below the $250,000 mark, things like that. But the money people that I study, that I watch, they have tens of millions stashed away in banks. More or less, they just keep it there like a massive checking account because their real assets, their real wealth is stashed in investments, hard assets like stocks in uranium mining companies or stocks in lithium companies and stocks in gold and timber, wheat, oil, things like that, where it's a hard asset and you can sell. You can get in, you can get out, and you can sell. Again, I'm not an expert. Don't ever quote me for cash, gold, silver, crack, and prostitutes. There's this fellow called Mark Moss. I really like him. He's brilliant. He works very, very fast. You have to listen very carefully to learn and understand. He's involved in prepping. He has a large ranch property in Texas. He also has very high value real estate in Southern California and rental properties. He also has a lot of gold, a lot of silver. He also has a lot of prepper materials on the ranch. And one of the things that he says is that he believes is very important. It's going to sound strange, but it's things like hard liquor, cigarettes and cigars and tobacco, beer, guns and ammo, and also medical supplies. These are hard assets that can be very, very valuable. Another thing that some people are doing is they're buying online through online marketplaces discounted, 50-barrel oil drums or water drums or food drums and turning them into water storage. Okay? Buying hard-bodied, lockable shed and storage areas and filling it with very valuable tools. Generators, battery storage units, solar panels, pumps, drills, hatchets, saws, gasoline, and storable food at room temperature. Hello, Victor. So Sarah's got a point. Capitalism collapses on itself. It's in a permanent state of capitalism. The thing about what I see about capitalism is this phrase that Mark Mott uses. It's called creative destruction. It's very prominent in the United States. The United States is full of extremely creative enterprises and people that manifest in terms of what we see as successful business, successful enterprise. And then an equally intelligent group of people who are more like the capitalists look at that and think, aha, there's a way I can capitalize on those capitalists over here who've come up with a good idea. And these are like, I think they call them venture capitalists or vulture capitalists. And what they do is they kind of scoop up any good ideas that they think are very valuable and they consolidate to create one big lump of an entity. Like, for example, Amazon or eBay, or like a big pharmaceutical or a big car manufacturer. Like, 100 years ago, there were dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of car manufacturers in America. But Ford, General Motors, and Chrysler came along and said, enough of that. It's too stupid. It's inefficient. We're going to buy out all those little boutique handmade automobile companies, and we're going to consolidate into this massive thing that we have today, which is the auto industry in America with 3 major companies. So that is a way that capitalism gorges on itself. In a way, I think it's sad. It makes me kind of angry because I like the idea of mom and pop operations that are allowed to flourish, even though, according to the elite capitalists, they're inefficient. I'm a big fan of, maybe doing things the slow way, the old-fashioned way. It might be inefficient. For example, have you ever had homemade ice cream? Okay, there's an example. Homemade apple pie. Homemade beef stew. And that's what I'm thinking. Homemade grilled cheese sandwiches. Instead of doing everything through fast food franchises. Anyway, let me get back to my notes. So, one other glaring item that we have here is this massive square between Saturn in Pisces and Jupiter in Gemini. Okay? From my perspective, what this indicates is this massive breach of deception. Think of Saturn in Pisces as a severe consequence for the severe abuse of the beautiful Neptune Pisces natural energy in its own 12th house. In other words, all of that I just described would be the behavior of pedophiles, criminals, thieves, murderers, rapists, anybody who uses deception, fraud, betrayal, bribery, corruption, manipulation, blackmail to own another person. It's very, very evil energy. And this is, tragically, it's being exposed across the world, especially in China and especially in Washington in the United States. And one of the reasons it's being exposed is because sweet Gemini energy over here, especially expanded powerfully by Jupiter, does not appreciate fraud, deception, lies, betrayal, crime, imprisonment, and being poisoned. And it's calling out all the nasty stuff going on here, especially China, and secondarily Washington, D.C. And to me, that's a very healthy thing. In other words, you've got to reveal it to heal it. So this is, even though this is a very harsh aspect right now, it's very, very good for evolution. It's very good for we the people starting to see behind the veil of deception. So that's what's going on over there. Let me go through my notes here. The big things that I'm seeing, I just mentioned, okay, already, with Neptune and Pluto retrograde. So I want to move on from there. The big thing over here, of course, is the one I just mentioned. We're heading into it right now. I'm tracking it pretty closely. There's, of course, you know, China and the Communist Party, they're going to tell the world a completely different story to what's actually happening over in China. What's actually happening over there is desperation to the extreme hyper desperation as a highly leveraged, overexpanded economy that's based on slave labor and, let's say, dictatorship is coming unraveled because the people who run this country think they know better than God, think they know better than nature, and they can tell everybody what to do and how to do it, and if anybody defies them, they suffer severe consequences. So that's not a very fun way to run a country. So it's coming apart, and the more and more it falls apart, the more desperate the leaders become. And that's showing in their financial world, because their financial world is directly correlated to their misbehavior. The misbehavior and the extremely, I would say, evil behavior of the leaders has consequences. And the consequence is that their lust for power, money, and control, which is on steroids compared to anything from the World Economic Forum or from Washington, it's coming unglued. So right now in China, they're suffering a massive financial implosion as their debt markets collapse, their real estate markets collapse, and the banking system collapses because it's all based on theft. It's fake banking, fake finance, fake real estate, fake investing, fake stock markets, and the whole world is noticing. They also do a lot of fake stuff as well. We're used to that now. One example recently, I don't know if you noticed, but over in Bolivia, some of we the people, the revolutionaries, got very, very sick of their communist dictatorship here, and they tried to do a military coup takeover of the government. So what they did, the military bought a huge amount of Chinese military hardware, guns, trucks, missiles, whatever, to do the coup. And so they started the coup. It was all carefully planned out, and within 3 hours the whole thing collapsed. Why did it collapse? Because the Chinese military weapons that were bought by the coup leaders were junk. They're junk. They look like incredibly fierce, dangerous, powerful weapons, but they're junk. They've just fall apart. The wheels fall apart. The missiles and bullets and guns explode on sight. I mean, it's insane. And of course, word gets out. Oh my God, do not buy a Chinese, Hummer. The other thing is, the same thing's happening in Brazil and Pakistan and a couple of other countries, Iran and a few other places, and Russia. They've all spent billions of dollars on Chinese weapons because the Chinese were selling them fast and cheap. And guess what happened? When you buy a lot of weapons that are made fast and cheap by a bunch of communists, they fall apart. So Brazil has realized they got scammed. They bought a pile of junk weaponry. Pakistan bought a pile of junk weaponry. The Russians bought a pile of junk weaponry, and it's all starting to show. You got to reveal it to heal it. Well, it's now being revealed. Classic example, okay? Literally, I mean, it's happening real time. Another really scary thing about the Pisces energy is that it's affecting China directly in terms of flooding and water. Okay? Pisces, Neptune, water, rivers, lakes, oceans, streams. In China, the rivers, lakes, and all of that is extremely heavily polluted. And all their flood mitigation is designed by insane lunatics in the leadership that defies nature. And when you defy nature, it's going to kick back. So what's happening is incredible drought in the north of China, incredible drought in the north, and intense, mind-boggling flooding down here. If you think the flooding and the storm is bad over here, coming up right now this evening in Houston and Corpus Christi, or up there in Michigan, the flood damage over here is microscopic to the millions that are suffering over here. You can't not see it. Now, I deliberately look for everything across the world, but in America, a lot of the news is going to be hidden. You're not going to be told. But I'm sharing what I find so that you're at least slightly aware. Another thing that's happening right now during this time of extreme crisis, instability, and turbulence is a lot of elections for new leaders has been going on all across the world. Just the other day, United Kingdom, Iran, and France, and a little earlier, Belgium, Hungary, Germany, Poland, Netherlands, and so on. And it's been extremely turbulent because a lot of people there are fed up with the elites constantly trying to grab and hold of power. Doesn't matter with your left wing or right wing. It's just elites grabbing hold of money and power and control. That's all they care about. And so we, the people, are starting to wake up. But the people in charge still have a tremendous amount of power, money, and control. It's very difficult to fight off this stuff. There's been massive uprisings all over Western Europe, turning what we would call over here a right-wing, conservative approach. And a lot of that is fueled by anger regarding immigration and the breaching of borders in Western Europe from people all over here. Now, it just so happens, well, I'll come to that story in a minute. Actually, I've just covered this story when we talked earlier about the cusp crisis, Pluto, Neptune, the evils of the elites and the elite evil people. So moving on, over here we also have elections in America right now, which of course, it's a comedy show. I mean, it's insane. I think Love Tribe had just put something on there. There was a bomb threat in the White House just now requesting Biden to resign. And people are saying, well, what happens if Kamala takes on the role? Oh my God. Oh my God. What happens if she takes on the role? Who's going to be her VP? How are they going to organize that in the last 4 months? Some people are thinking it's getting so bad in America that the elites are going to basically trigger some kind of immense, mind-boggling crisis over here, which will give the elites an excuse to say, you know what, it's too unstable to hold an election. We're going to have to initiate martial law. We're going to have to lock down the country. We're going to have to cancel the elections. And we're just going to have to keep the government going according to the way Joe's running it right now. And we'll replace him with someone suitable once we've figured that out. But in the meantime, everybody relax. There's no election. And then, guess what that's going to do? It's going to cause, I don't know, probably civil war. So, in other words, the translation for that is, again, desperation, crisis for the deep state. The deep state is, well, whatever you think it is, as far as I'm concerned, the deep state is a couple of words that symbolizes the elite banking global cabal, political cabal that runs and controls everything. And they're damned if they're going to let their power and money and control disappear, especially because of some wacko nut job called Donald. Okay, the last thing I wanted to mention over here is the Darien Gap. Okay, you might have heard of it already. Over here, this is the Darien Gap. Okay, so yeah, exactly. He's getting threats as well. So the Darien Gap is right down here. And this is a trouble spot because it's very difficult to move people across here. But there are tens of thousands of people from here who are trying to get up to here. This is a crisis point over here. There are dozens of NGO facilitator camps around here and here and here that are helping these people come into here directly by landing them over here and avoiding the Darien Gap. So what's happened is some of the politicians in Panama, because the Darien Gap is right down there in Panama, the politicians are saying, you know what, enough is enough is enough. Panama is its own country, and we're sick of being controlled by the American United Nations, George Soros, evil Democrat NGOs, even though they're pouring in billions of dollars. We're sick of being infected by China all over here and here and here and here and here. So we're going to try and shut down the Darien Gap. I don't know if they're going to be successful or not, but it's becoming a very, very serious thing. So you're probably aware of it. I mentioned it before. There's a movie coming out called Treason, and it's all about the Darien Gap and the invasion here and how it's all planned and deliberate to destroy America from within. This is all planned. You have to understand, the elites don't care what color you are or what politician you like or you don't like. The only thing they care about is the power and the money and the control. And the way they're going to do that is they're going to flood the United States with ISIS and Chinese military and destroy it from the inside. It's already happening. Okay? Chinese military are now well documented crossing the border. ISIS are now well documented crossing the border here. We're already heavily infected, and World War III is already happening here from within. But of course, you're not going to see that on the mainstream. All you're going to do is see sports, games, movies, pop stars, movie stars, car chases, murders, rapes, and killings, and so on. Just the usual stuff. Hello, Andrea. Anyway, those are my little notes just for today. I'm going to put this aside for the moment. And we're going to get on with your mini readings. All right. Let's put, hold on. Let me just, sorry, this takes a little bit of time. Sorry, bear with me. Alrighty, Sarah, you are up. All right. It's kind of convenient in some ways that I don't really store a lot of memory in my brain. Of course, I have emotional type memory, okay? See ya, Victor. I know you hang out for the astrology and you don't want anything to do with the personal readings. I get it. I totally get it. But if you do, we're here. Have fun, Victor. See you next week. All right, Sarah, so you're up. If I recall, we did a reading last week and maybe a couple of weeks before that. But I'm just going to do a blind one. Unless you've got a very, very critical issue, very, very specific in one word or so. But otherwise, what I would prefer to do is blind. And we allow, in other words, whatever, put it this way. What are the messages that we need for Sarah right now that she may not be able or normally access or otherwise? Okay? In other words, even simpler, what messages do we have for Sarah tonight regarding her life, her world, her everything? See, make it really, really simple. And then you hand it over to your invisible friends, to God, to heaven, okay? Oh, yeah, Sarah, no worries. Oh my God, I have to share a story with you. Sarah, you just reminded me of a story. Oh my God. Hold on. Oh my God. Give me a second here. Oh my God. Sorry, they won't take long. It's about Donald Trump. Oh my God. So Sarah, I will get to your reading in just a moment, but you reminded me about a vivid dream. I've been having a tremendous amount of very vivid dreams lately. I blame it on the planets, especially all the Pisces stuff and all the Cancerian stuff. It's really very closely associated with the more spiritual aspect of our nature. Anyway, every now and again I get these wacko dreams, okay? Oh, I see. Okay, thanks. Sure, you're going to get a blind reading. So anyway, during one of my dreams last night, please don't laugh, okay, but I felt that I was one of the most important Secret Service agents for Donald Trump. Right? Okay? I had my suit, my black tie, and I looked the part. I didn't look like this at all. I looked like a real live Secret Service guy. I would take a bullet for the man, okay? And you'd have to kill me to get to the man. But anyway, there I was with my other buddies, because we are all like, we have a private club. You know, it's a very, very, very tightly knit unit. Us top-level Secret Service presidential detail guys. We're indestructible, and we were all Navy SEALs at one point, so we know everything. I know how to kill people by flicking my finger. I know how to take somebody down by just going like that, okay? And I have a bulletproof vest and everything, okay? So there I was doing my duty, and Donald was doing his usual thing. We were in a public setting, and you know, he just likes to talk and hang out with the people. He's a man of the people, okay? And he's a very powerful Gemini. Anyway, he's indestructible. He's about 6'4", 6'5", 220 pounds or something. I mean, he's a big guy. Anyway, he's bigger than most of his Secret Service detail, okay? Hello, Big Toe Roja. Anyway, so there I was, and I was looking around, and I noticed, you know, you have to, when you're a Secret Service detail for the president, you always got to be looking around, keeping an eye out for any whack jobs out there who are trying to like jump over the crowd or come in with a knife or a gun or do something really stupid to get to the president. So I was just watching out. And then he came up to me and said, "Hey man, I got to take a leak." And I went, "Oh, yeah, of course, all right." So I thought, "Oh God, okay, alert, guys, he's gonna take a leak. He's gonna take a leak. Full alert." And so like we can't stop him. Okay, he's unstoppable. So he walks towards this public restroom near these sort of restaurants and boutique-y places that are out in public, like in a small town, which is what he loves to do. In one of his huge rallies, then he goes down to a burger joint or a sandwich store or a little hardware store or something. He hangs out with the people. But he had to take a leak, and there was a little public restroom on the side of a cafe, you know, because like people do, they go into a cafe and there's a restroom. So he started to go in there, and I thought, oh God, this is going to be a really tight situation. There's bound to be some whack job in there who's going to pull a stunt. I need to get in very tight, very, very close. And so that's what I did, because that's my job. I have to protect the man. And so I get in there very tight, and I actually pull out my little bang stick, because you never know. And I had to keep it very, very tight, in very, very close quarters. And despite my excellent record and my incredible skills and years of being a SEAL Team 6 combat veteran and everything, I started to sweat. I was sweating, and my hand was getting hot and sweaty, and I was getting shaky, like, oh, this could get really bad. It could get really bad. And it's like, you know, you don't ever want it to happen, but sometimes these things do happen. They turn very, very bad, and when they do go bad, they tend to go very bad very, very quickly. So I knew that already. And so I was in action mode, but I was also hyper stressed and ready for anything. Literally ready for anything, okay? And I felt my trigger hand getting hot because it's very, very hot outside, and sweat. And so I found it a little bit difficult to keep things exactly where they should be for safety, but at the same time being ready to go within a fraction of a second. And so as I was scanning the alleyway down into the restroom, and Don was right in front of me, just like two, 3 steps away in front of me, and there were other people in line and waiting to take a leak as well. I thought, this is so bad. And I looked around, and then it went off. It went off in my hand. And I thought, holy shit, this is going to be so bad. Because what had happened, literally, because my hand was sweaty, it slipped off the safe position onto the trigger. And then I woke up. So there you go. That's my stupid wacko dream. Hope you liked that. All right, Sarah, you're up. Sarah, what is this bad news? Low carb ice cream is high in fat. Ha! I didn't know that. I would have thought it would be just like the opposite. All right, Sarah. I'm using the Golden Universal Tarot deck tonight because I just wanted to cheer things up a little bit, make things a little bit more sparkly and golden and heavenly. It's the same thing, but just a different presentation. Anyway, let's bless this deck, bless every single card, bless all of us here for being here, that we can do this at all. It's like magic. The whole thing is just like magic, and we tune in to the divine using our Neptune faculties and so on. And we don't force the situation or anything. We just allow ourselves to be instruments, okay? So that, let's say, divinity flows through us. All right, so what kind of messages do we have here for Sarah tonight? Cards are well... You know what? I'm going to do another last-second mini shuffle just to be super in tune. I don't do reversals. I like the art, the way it's made originally. I think it's kind of an insult to do with rehearsals when you think of the work that goes into the art of making these things. Anyway, each to their own. And I'm going to use, like I've been doing for years, my little diagnostic spread. It's my situational spread. It's the same spread I use when I'm giving private readings in the Situation Room at the White House. Here we go. All right, let's have a look. All right, brace yourself, Sarah. You never know what's going to happen. All right. So, what are the messages we have here for Sarah tonight? Here's the situation, okay? Here are the challenges. And here's how we're going to handle things. And let's have a look at the external influences. Of course, I default to the planets, but you never know. Let's have a look. So right now, 5 of Pentacles. To me, this is a very, very... I mean, some people are scared of this card, but for me, the way I'm sensing it for you tonight, Sarah, is like I'm giving you a big hug, okay? Pretend I'm giving you a big hug where it might not make sense, okay? It's just like, pretend I've known you for a long time, and I always have your best interests at stakes, and I'm one of those sort of neighbors or somebody you grew up with, and it's just like, there's nothing to hide. You know everything about me, Sarah. I know everything about you, okay? And so it's like, who do you talk to when you're kind of either you're going through a wacky phase or whatever, okay? And pretend I'm in a spiritual form. I am that person right now. And we're sitting in a bar or a coffee shop together, and I'm there mostly just to give you a kind of a arm around the shoulder, like, Sarah, whatever it is you're doing, whatever it is you're up to, that's great. I wish you all the best. We love you very much. You're awesome. And nobody wants you to end up suffering or screwed up. But you have to remember that the world is in a financial hellstorm right now. And there's a potential for it to go much, much worse, okay? Much, much worse. Okay. So, how does that apply to you? Okay, Sarah, pretend we're either at a bar together because we drink, or we're at a coffee shop together because we'd like to have a little coffee. And we're just here. I haven't had a shower or anything. You're busy, you're occupied, and you're just like, you're most like nothing to hide self, And I'm just saying, hey, Sarah, I know. So it's like someone has to step up and say, Sarah, just be careful, okay? Just be very, very careful. There's one particular, okay, so that's what I'm trying to say here, because the global financial system is hyper unstable. If you're not prepared for it, it could backfire on you personally, despite your best efforts. On the other hand, for some people, it could actually work, but it depends on the relationship and the relationships that you carry between yourself and other people in your personal world regarding finance, the people with whom you connect financially. Jobs, employers, lenders, and so on, your credit cards, mortgages, car payments, bills, all those kinds of things. When I see the Five of Pentacles there, it's an understanding that, like millions of other Americans right now, you are very vulnerable, okay? Because these big institutions that exploit us, we the people, are working extra hard because they know something very big and bad is scary is coming, and they're trying to grab what they can while they can, okay? And if they can get something out of you, even if it's through nefarious means, that's what they're going to do. They might try to take advantage of your own fragilities and your own needs and desires right now. So just be careful. It doesn't mean stop living your life. It just means be very, very careful with whom you relate, okay? Okay, so that's my impression with the Five of Pentacles right now. So another thing is that it's so easy. Here's another example. This is a really easy example I can share. Okay, we're only going to have 2 readings tonight, so I'm just going to indulge a little bit here. There's a guy I like to watch on YouTube now and again, and he's in real estate. Love Triber likes to watch these too, and he focuses on Las Vegas and all the shenanigans and fake money, fake people, fake realtors, fake appraisers, fake, the people who do the valuations and stuff and the property inspections. A lot of it is just fake. Anything to cut a deal, even if it means you're getting screwed over. They're screwing you over. So you have to be very, very careful. And one of the things that this guy talks about is like, sure, if you got to buy a house and you absolutely have to buy a house, do it. That's just one big chunk of the American economy. But if you don't absolutely have to, then don't. Find another way around. Wait. Because we're heading into the financial catastrophe right now, and there are people who will benefit coming out of the financial catastrophe. And the people who are more likely to benefit are people who wait, who are patient if they can. Now, if you can't wait, then you still have to do your homework and just be as careful as you can, obviously. Okay? So that's what I was trying to suggest. Hey, Elizabeth, it's a little bit late. If we have time, we'll do one. Otherwise, I can do a little mini one for you during the week. It's up to you. All right, so this feels like a warning from a good friend. Like, just be careful. Be very, very careful, Sarah. You don't want to sign anything or tie yourself to a financial situation that you're going to regret later on. Okay? It might be better just to hunker down. You know, like when you have a very bad storm, sometimes it's better just to hunker down and suffer the patience and the boredom and frustration of having to hunker down. Most people don't want to do that because it's really tedious and painful. They want what they want right now. Okay? Okay, tonight. Okay, well, all right, we can do that. So, Sarah, Elizabeth, I'm working with Sarah right now. I've got Gregory, and we can do one for you, but that's it. No more readings after that, okay? No more reading. I'll put that up here. All right, so, Elizabeth, you know what to do. All right, here's the situation. Now, isn't that interesting? Ace of Pentacles with this. Okay, so this is a card of sacred opportunity. Who would have guessed? So Serenova, there are some situations where catastrophic financial weather can actually be beneficial for some people once you know how to navigate. And that can turn into a tremendous opportunity. Okay? Seriously, I have first-hand experience of watching this happen to some lucky people that I know. Again, let's go to real estate. Now, if you remember back in 2008, 2009, there was the great financial crisis. That crisis shook the whole world financially. Okay, fast forward 2024, we're going through a similar thing, but on a much, much bigger scale. So the catastrophic shockwaves are going to be much, much bigger. So there's opportunity there, just like there was in 2009, 10, 11. What do I mean? Well, the most obvious example was in America, when millions of people were foreclosed on their properties because those people got sucked into fake, bogus mortgages, which exploded. Adjustable rate mortgages, which were guaranteed to explode in your face, basically like a financial weapon of mass destruction. And that's what happened. But there are people who were just coincidentally in a strong enough position, with a cash position, where they could take advantage of someone who had a house at this sticker price, and where the sticker price goes from here to here. And if you can buy, get in when it's way down here, and get a suitable contract, deal, mortgage, or whatever, you're effectively making yourself rich, because the house prices go up and up and up again. Back then, a $180,000 house is now $400,000. Do you see my point here? So, again, like the realtor was talking about, it might be an idea, if you don't have to do anything now financially, it might be an idea where it's like, where if you can get the situation where you can take advantage of the crisis. I know it sounds like a little bit cruel, but it's like a moment of sacred opportunity, because things, hardcore things like hard assets like a house, a rental property that you own, a car that you own outright, things that have value, powerful, valuable, useful tools, especially real estate, is a good example where there can be amazing opportunity if you know what you're doing, if you understand how the markets work and prices work and wheeling and dealing works and all of that. So that's what I'm suggesting here. It might be a scary world out there financially, but so let's see. Oh, I'm just seeing your notes there. Hold on. Oh, I see what your notes. Well, the information that you're sharing with us here tonight indicates to me that you actually have a very powerful negotiating position, especially if you're actually already inside the house. No one else can take it from you. I assure you of that. So if you can prove that this property needs massive amounts of investment to get it up to code, up to, permits and standards, then you can use that to negotiate. So what's the challenges here? Okay, to me the challenge feels here like you don't have a lot of experience dealing with these kinds of situations, because it requires extreme mental acuity and precision and swiftness in being able to wheel and deal in the moment, live, real time, in a way that's advantageous for you. And like with one slip up of a document or a sentence or a clause in any kind of agreement, it could backfire on you if you don't have, huge amounts of experience. So with the Page of Swords here, it might be an idea to understand that in some ways you might be sitting on a really serious golden opportunity. Understanding that the markets are extremely fragile right now, and that could also work to your advantage. However, you got to be very careful, because if you don't do this kind of stuff every day, it could easily, not work out for you. So you have to be able to call it out to yourself, be your own whistleblower on yourself, and admit that even though you know exactly what's going on, as you've just described in the notes, you've got to take action. Obviously, you want to take action, and if this is your moment of golden opportunity, then it makes sense to be, I would say, aggressive or extremely aggressive in terms of negotiating around your situation. So, all I'm suggesting here with the Page of Swords is understanding that chances are you're in a very good situation, but without hardcore negotiating, communicating experience, you might not have the confidence or the skills necessary to get the most absolute advantage out of this amazing moment of sacred opportunity. So how do we move forward? Aha! More pentacles. Look at that. Okay. So we've got the Nine of Pentacles here. The way I see this, okay? You hired a new realtor. Okay, so that sounds like a good idea. So with the Nine of Pentacles, the way forward, the way I see it, is to understand and believe that you're already rich. In other words, you do not psychologically, emotionally, spiritually allow yourself to be infected by the massive implosion that's happening on the global financials arena. Instead, you concentrate microscopically on your own particular world, like you're in a golden moment right now. Perfect time for starting a family. You just need a nice nest. Okay, so it's very, 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 very important. If you like to watch nature movies and stuff like that, which I do, you'll understand that the desire to procreate and create new life is fundamental to organic life on Earth, human beings included. And the nesting process is incredibly fierce. Like if you look at birds and primates and wild animals, wild wolves, bears, whatever it is, little birds, it's probably one of the most important aspects of their existence is finding a mate, finding a nest, creating the safety and everything that's needed in the nest in order to procreate and create this miracle of new life. And if you're at that moment right now, and that is your time of sacred opportunity, it's very, very important to understand with the Nine of Pentacles that on a global scale, you're already rich, okay? You live in America. We live in a free market capitalist system here. Even though it's highly volatile and it's riddled with fraud, deception, lies, and betrayal, theft, crime, it's still the best place on earth for doing this kind of stuff. So we have a lot of resources here. We're relatively very low population compared to the land mass that we have and the quality of land and the resources that we have and our structure, and of course this incredible thing that we own. Okay, so what I'm sensing with the Nine of Pentacles is to pray to your invisible friends, your God, your archangels, to keep sending you signals, very obvious signals and reminders, so that you become aware on a daily basis how incredibly fortunate and lucky you are already. You have a mate, your mate has you. You are both dialed in and ready to create the next generation. Now you have to have your nest. So you have the resources. You're at the perfect age, okay? Biologically, you're at your prime. So you have all that. That's the Nine of Pentacles. You already have immense wealth. And all you have to do now with the Page of Swords is refine that in terms of the intricacy and knowledge and details of what it takes to optimize your wealth so that you can lock in the nest that you want. Okay? And if that means hiring a better realtor and a better property appraiser, for example, if you can get a realtor who can bring in those people who evaluate a property, and that person who does the evaluation comes in and says, okay, Mr. Owner of this house, you want blah, 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 thousands of dollars for this house, right? Well, I've just finished my inspection and I can tell you, you're out of your freaking mind. For a start, the whole subfloor crawl space is rotten. It's going to take half the sticker price of your house to do a remodel and refurbish it to get it up to code. Okay? So your asking price is delusional, sir. So Sarah, this is kind of what I'm talking about. You need to have every resource available on your side. You need a lender who's on your side who can reinforce that by saying, we'd love to lend you a lot of money to buy the house for this much, but frankly, it would be criminal if we did that, because that house is worth only this much because of all the serious damage on the flooring and the crawl space, which you're going to have to take care of. So we'll lend you this much to get the house and this much to do the repairs, and then when it's finished, the sticker price will be this. Do you see what I mean by Ace of Pentacles opportunity? So you have to take full advantage of the problem. Take full advantage of the problems that you actually have. It's almost like a form of gold. The more rotten the floor space or the crawl space it is, the more opportunity you have. The more... It sounds totally contradictory, but if it's as bad as you say, that works in your favor, okay? All right, so there's your reading. I hope that all helped. Thank you so much, Sarah. I'm going to put this aside over here. I'm going to shuffle up, and we're going to read for Gregory. Hey, Elizabeth, I'm just going to make your magic post-it note while we're here, and then we're going to move on to Gregory's reading. I just saw your notes there, Gregory. Awful, awful, awful. So, I've got, before we even get to your reading, Gregory, I'm going to mention something that Love Triber likes to tell me all the time. Okay. Let's go over here. Love Triber likes to say things like, you know, TL, this isn't happening to you. It's happening for you. Just remember that. It probably doesn't bring you much comfort at this moment. It sounds like you're really shocked, depressed, pissed off. Yeah, the economy's bad. Yeah, it's shocking in some ways. All right, so Gregory just put notes on the screen here. I've lost 3 wealthy, rich clients this week and need to know how to proceed. You would not believe the stories. Probably not. No, don't worry, we're fine. We're going for it. Okay. So for example, before we even get into the reading, Gregory, because we've worked a lot together over the years, and so you know the processes here, you know how we work, and how the whole, I guess, how spirit works. So in this situation, where it's obviously very painful to you, I'm just conveying what Love Triber would have suggested to me. You would, in anticipation, you expect things like, oh my God, we're going to see the Death card, we're going to see the Tower card, and we're going to see like the 10 of Swords, and it's just going to be misery and hell and pain. Saturn is going to rule, and all hell is going to rain down, blah, 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 blah. Well, in some ways it's all part of evolution. Now, I'm not going to go deep into the astrology, but we all have Pisces somewhere in our chart, wherever it might be. It might be in the 9th house, it might be in the 2nd house, it might be in the 1st house, it might be in the 12th house, wherever it is. So, drilling way, way down, like I was talking at the beginning of the show, way before the readings, we're having a lot of crisis energy happening right now because Neptune and Pluto are on the cusps, and they're very, very long, slow moving, very painful cusps. And those cusp degrees are very, very specific, and they exist for everybody somewhere in your chart. In other words, if we were doing a personal reading, just live, you and me in private right now, and I had a few hours preparation, I could pull up all your charts and transits and everything, we would be able to pull out precisely where Saturn and Neptune would be impacting you now. Same thing with maybe whatever else is transiting, okay? But I would personally be looking for the Saturn and Neptune transits because they're the ones that translate into the most pain and suffering right now, and karmic type of evolutionary growth. Same thing with Pluto. Pluto is very much associated with the evolution of our soul, because Pluto energy relates to the very deepest part of our soul, which has virtually no conscious expression or awareness from the neck upwards. In other words, people who are addicted to power and money and control typically do that from the neck upwards because they had a taste for power, money, and control, and they got addicted to it. They liked it, and they said, yes, in order to get more, have more power, money, and control, I'm going to absolve myself of the true journey of this life, which is to love and to be loved. In other words, I deliberately choose to move away from love in order that I can have a meager substitute, which we call power, money, and control. It's a very hollow substitute. But anyway, the point I'm trying to get to, okay, for example, Gregory is saying he's got Pisces rising. So you might be feeling it at a very, very personal level, like it's right in your face. The Saturn, the karmic energy of Saturn, and the disorienting energy of Neptune, both retrograde, going through the first house, and the rising area, could be felt as extreme delusional, disorienting pain, as though like you feel like you're going insane, like none of this makes any sense, because you're not an evil person, okay? You mostly come from a position of be loving and be loved. You're a very fierce defender of the meek and the humble. You have associations with great wealth and great money. And what you're feeling right now, the way you've described it, is you've lost 3 very wealthy clients. What does that mean? I don't know. We're going to have a look at the reading at the moment. But like Love Triber would say, this is happening for you. But why is it happening for you? Is it to like remove some sort of veil of illusion under which you've been living for decades? Where you've either been in denial or you literally were unaware. And now that veil is being lifted very slowly, gently, and painfully so that you personally can evolve above who you are at this moment. I know this doesn't sound like a very helpful preamble to your reading, but I'm just trying to open up the mind to the possibility that something very big and profound is happening at the very depths of your soul that is ultimately for your good in terms of evolution, okay? Now, here's an example. I've had a lot of very serious end-of-life type issues, and I'm still here, okay? And all of those end-of-life issues involved astronomical amounts of pain to the point where the pain is suicidal. It's literally like, "Uck this, I'm out of here. There's no way, you can't live like this. It's impossible to live life with this much pain." So a lot of people do it. They take themselves out. Psychological pain, emotional pain, physical pain, combination of all of them. They reach a point where it's like, I can't take it anymore. And they just tap out. I've lived through that many, many times. It's the frequency has died down a lot, but in each case, I came out the other side stronger than before. It didn't make any sense. In some ways right now, physiologically and so on, I'm extremely weak, extremely fragile, but from another perspective, I'm stronger than ever before. And I've already lived the bulk of my life. It doesn't make any sense at all. There's no logic to it. So what I'm suggesting is that it's a spiritual mantra. It comes from Love Triber. It's happening for you, not to you. Okay, let's get to your reading. I just hope that provides a tiny degree of comfort, at least. By the way, another thing is that it's extremely hard to deal with challenging Neptune transits. I think it's harder than Pluto, much harder than Saturn itself. But you're dealing with Saturn and Neptune going across your rising, and both Saturn and Neptune are retrograde. Whatever can fail will fail in that regard. And that's happening with the Saturn-Neptune energy retrograde in Pisces going across your descendant. So that's a mini astrology lesson right there, live, real time on TarotLumination. Okay, so let's get into this here. What kind of messages do we have here for Gregory tonight? Okay, in his world, it sounds to me and feels to me like it's very, very painful. Very painful what you're having to endure right now. But you're still here. Somehow or other, you're living through this. All right, we're well shuffled. We have a pristine deck. Let's have a look. What kind of messages do we have here for Gregory tonight so we can get some more clarity, which will relieve some of the pain and suffering? Okay, let's have a look. All right, here's the situation. Here's the challenges. And here's how we're going to handle things. Let's have a look at the external influences. Of course, I love to devolve to the planets. Let's have a look. So, with the six. This is the relationship card. So you can already see from the image, it's kind of divine. It's very, very beautiful. It's about the divinity of love and relationships, and what does it really, really mean? And how do we come to this point in life? I know it's very much a male-female Adam and Eve type of image, and there's the snake on the temptation, but there is some profound blessing going on here, okay? And in a very crude sense, it's like, okay, well, what are we going to do? Are we going to do this? What does this actually mean for us? If you, let's say, okay, Gregory, if you can imagine yourself as one and the same, you are the masculine version of your female self, you are the female version of your masculine self, and you own both of those energies inside of you. And in order to evolve, you have to go through this plutonic type of implosion, just like Pluto, Scorpio type energy, in order to create new life, new energy from within yourself. Okay? So in other words, this is going to sound like I'm really stretching the tarot and the astrology here, but if you think of Neptune and Pluto, Pluto is very profoundly active right now. Pluto is all about birth, life, death. Birth, life, death. Birth, life, death. Repeat, repeat, repeat. That's evolution in a nutshell, okay? Repeat it billions of times over and over again, and you move from, primates to humans, and so on. And the other thing about the energy of Pluto and Scorpio is it's the energy of merger. Okay, it's the energy of merging one source of energy with another energy. For example, in Libra, Venus, the house of seventh house of marriage and partnership, that's when two entities, commonly a male and female, who desire to evolve, reach a point of profound realization where they cannot evolve without communing and becoming one and creating something new that is not them. So the next stage on astrologically is Libra goes into Scorpio. So inside of a marriage, what happens is the two consenting, in a loving, caring marriage, the two consenting parties decide to merge. And that's through sexual reproduction. And it creates a new entity. Okay, a baby. That's the new version of you, the new version of you. And if you can imagine that happening simultaneously inside of you, where your soul is craving evolution, and the only way forward is to do the most terrifying thing possible on earth, which is to commune with another soul, and vice versa, in a way that's mutual consent. And in your case, this is you merging with you, your depth of soul merging with the deeper parts of your soul, so that you can create a new Gregory Ross. I know I'm really, really stretching the analogy here, but I hope it makes sense to you. because it's like if you're trying to conduct your life as a singular entity, then there's no evolution. Okay, like, you know how worms reproduce? They just multiply and multiply, but they never evolve because they do not have sexual reproduction. They just have sexual multiplication, so on and so on. Anyway, let's have a look. What's the situation? We already know the situation because Sarah put a note there. Theme is business dealings. That's what I get from the Lovers when it comes to these types of readings. Yes, good idea. Business dealings with profoundly important people, for better or worse. Let's have a look. So we've got the Queen of Wands here. It's a really rich, profoundly powerful card. It's a card of sacred inspiration, where it's a card of being almost like indestructible, where I almost want to associate this with Donald right now, because the tougher things are, the stronger he gets. And even though this is a very powerful feminine energy, it's a similar energy where the Queen of Wands didn't arrive here just by being born into it. The Queen of Wands arrives here because of a stupendously powerful will to live, the will to evolve in the way that's as healthy as possible. And it's actually very, very hard to do. It might look splendid on the outside, but these processes of evolution require tremendous courage and strength and trust in the unknown. And the only way you can proceed with that is through, I would call it divine inspiration, where you have to make a decision. You're going to own that from the inside out. And that comes from outside, so that has to be brought in. So my feeling right now with the Queen of Wands is you already know this. You already know, Gregory. You already fully understand what's going on in your world. But the fact is that it's happening at such a profound level, it can be very scary. Okay? Even though you already know, like you already understand, it's not happening to you, it's happening for you. You know, a lot of evolution happens under the most intense pressure. In other words, put it this way, most men and women stay apart from each other unless and until they've reached the point where they decide the only way I can evolve, me can evolve, is by combining my soul with the soul of another to create a new entity. Okay, just like what Sarah was dealing with. So it takes tremendous courage and inspiration. And my feeling is that you already know that. You're living it. You're already living by example. And it's kind of scary, but you're doing it. You're going forward anyway. Even though it might be a little bit tearful and painful, you continue anyway because you already know this is about evolution. It isn't about your ego. And it isn't about losing or failing or being a loser or a failure or anything like that. It's much more profound than that. What's the challenges here? Oh, look at that. Look at this. This is freakish, man. Here's the King of Wands. Okay. Now, what does this look like to you? I've never seen anything like this. What does this look like? What does this look like? To me, that's amazing. It's like, to me, it feels like the message here is that what you're dealing with is exactly what we've been describing here. And you've got, of course, your own deep, profound understanding of your own situation in extreme detail, excruciatingly painful detail. You know damn well what is going on. And you know at the deep soul level, it's ultimately for your own evolution. But accepting that and understanding that from the neck upwards is where it gets really, really difficult, because it's literally like I'm not going to say like a soap opera, but it's like watching a freaking movie where this amazing feminine character here is profoundly, fatefully attracted and bound to this amazing character here. This is the most awesome representation of your profound masculine energy. Hint, hint. Here. And this is the most profound representation of your internal feminine energy over here. Hint, hint. And somehow or other, you have to be willing, what's that expression we used earlier? To die before you die. It's almost like the whole idea of like, are we going to do this? Are we going to do this? Are we going to do this? Are we going to surrender our singularity, our individual, glorious, most worldly, outwardly awesome, spectacular, wonderful selves, to die within and merge into this thing that none of us knows, that is actually the new version. It's the offspring of evolution. It's the offspring of you living through this moment where you're, the way I look at it is you're being absolutely crushed from the outside in order to be reborn from the inside out. I don't know if that makes any sense to you, but it came to me in a very, very simple, powerful, like a really powerful neon light in my frontal cortex. Like, get the message across to Gregory right now. Stop fluffing around. Just call it out. So whatever I just said. Okay. So how do we proceed? Because this is scary stuff. It's profound. It's beautiful. It's mind-boggling. It's also very scary. It's very frightening. From the neck upwards, it's very frightening. But at the level of the soul, this is freaking epic. Epic, epic stuff. How do we proceed? Look at that! Look what just happened. Look at that. That's freakoid. That's the 9 of Pentacles. We just had that with Sarah. Okay, so it's feminine energy. So what? We all men have a feminine component. All women have a masculine component. With the 9 of Pentacles, this is an indication, realization, that you're in your own unique way, you already are wealthy. And of course, if you're used to hanging out with extremely hyper wealthy people, then your sense and perspective of being wealthy as perceived from the neck upwards, in other words, with your eyes, your nose, your mouth, your ears, and your skin, everything that's tactile and three-dimensional, might feel like you are hyper inferior, undervalued, underappreciated, unrespected, disrespected, rejected. All of that stuff that translates into extreme pain, hyper pain. But in your own way, deep in the soul, you're actually a very wealthy character. I would say a very wealthy soul that's untouchable. In other words, but now you already show that, you already live that by example. You are untouchable when it comes to corruption and so on. That's why some people in that town, they hate your guts, because you don't compromise. And you know, in some ways that makes you very wealthy from the inside. So in some ways you're indestructible. So to me, this is a consolation that you can soothe yourself and comfort yourself, reminding yourself that life is a movie. All of this is like a spectacular movie, and you are the star in your own movie, okay? Like the little dream I just shared earlier in the video, where I was one of the personal Secret Service detail agents for Donald. It was a spectacular movie. I was the hero of the moment. And then I collapsed. I imploded. I was completely shamed and embarrassed live, real time, in front of my cohorts and my commander-in-chief. But I'm still here to tell the tale. So, in your situation, Gregory, please understand that at the depth of your soul, you kind of already know what's happening. And even though it might be very, very painful from the neck upwards, because in the three-dimensional world where you exist, where there's astronomical beauty and wealth and money and power and all of that stuff, that's just that world. But there's the whole other multi-dimensional world that has value as well. And in that world, you're already a multimillionaire. So please console yourself with that. I hope this reading helps a little bit, just a little bit, to make you feel a bit better. Okay? You're an awesome character. Don't ever forget that. Love thyself. All right. Moving on. So we're going to do a mini reading now for Elizabeth. Okay? Oh, hold on. My computer is stalling out. Please bear with me. It's struggling. It's an old computer. We'll see. All right. I had to turn the fan on to maximum because it's just, so things are going to be flying around, blowing everywhere. It might get noisy and things could fall apart. But anyway, because it's hot work. Elizabeth, you're up. I hope you're still here. Let's check in. Just double checking here. Alright, I just switched on the fan to maximum right now so we can get through everything. So if you hear a big sort of in the background, that's the fan. But I have a very good quality microphone, so you should be able to hear things okay. Alright? Let's have a look here. Let's see. Alright, now outside, out front, it's about 122, 123. Alrighty, let's have a look here. Alright, Elizabeth. Thanks for getting back to me earlier. And I'm glad you had a successful trip hanging out, even though apparently the weather was yuck. But anyway, what kind of messages do we have here for you tonight? Also, thank you for keeping me updated and that you're doing really well. It's so good. I don't know if everybody knows this. I'm not going to go deep into your personal life or anything like that. Don't worry, okay? But for viewers out there who are new to this, what I noticed over the years is that everyone who shows up here has some kind of very deep wound that needs healing. And that's kind of it. And in some cases, it's very, very severe, very extreme, but you're still alive. Notice the theme here. Anyway, so just for the record, Elizabeth is one of those people, and so a lot of the stuff we can't possibly share on this channel, so I'm not going to even try. And Elizabeth has been a writer. She's been working on writing to tell the story because it needs to be told, and so on and so on. I've done my best to help. We'll see what happens down the road, but either way, whatever happens, Elizabeth, you are a survivor. Okay, that means evolution. Okay, evolution is the hardest thing on earth because it means you have to surmount every single obstacle in your path. You can't just cruise through and ride through trying to hitch a ride on someone else's life. You end up having to be on the front edge of your own evolution, which is typically where there is the most pain. All right, so, but again, Elizabeth, you do find a way to smile. I've always loved that about you, Elizabeth. You always seem to find a way. You wear your heart on your sleeve. You're very open. You're very, very pure. If you're happy, you're happy. If you're sad, you're sad. But when you are happy, you're indestructible. Cards are very well shuffled. And that's very valuable, very, very valuable. Because you know deep inside you're very blessed and that you have a certain form of joy that nobody can take from you. Again, that's a very hard lesson for some people to learn. But you already know that. And it's a question of what do you do now? You're still on your own evolutionary path. Okay, so we've already blessed the deck and all the cards. What kind of messages do we have here for Elizabeth tonight? Hey, by the way, I want to say thank you for everybody who's visiting and watching, who doesn't get the readings or anything, but you'd like to hang around anyway. Because it's, it's like edutainment. Okay, here's the situation. Here's the challenges. Here's how we're going to handle things. And let's have a look at the external influences. Of course, I usually default to the planets, but let's have a look. Wow. Isn't that beautiful? That's the Ace of Cups. This is an energy of sacred opportunity. All the aces are sacred because it's like a form of new life. It's like what happens when, like at the moment of conception, when a man and woman come together and new life is created. In a healthy situation, it's done through love. Okay? But in your situation, like with Gregory, it's about love thyself. And it's how you can propagate your own evolution through the mantra of love thyself. And it sounds very weird for me to say it the way I'm saying it right now, but it's very simple and it's very, very true. But to actually live that and live by example and understand that this phenomenon actually exists, it's pretty rare. But, Elizabeth, you are one of those people. You already know that through profoundly, sometimes very painful choices and actions, you can actually seed your own evolution. Love thyself, okay? And it takes a profoundly powerful energy to live by example and love thyself, considering everything that you've had to endure. Because everything that you've had to endure could possibly make you feel that you are a worthless piece of nothing, having been completely, almost crushed to the soul and pulverized in your body by other people who wanted what you have. You see, you might not know that, but you already have this. This is worth more than gold. And when some people smell that, they sense it, they want it, because they don't have it themselves, and they're not willing to go through the evolution themselves, so they try to take it from you. And that's usually a very evil process. Okay? All right, here we go. What's the situation? Woo! I can't believe what's happening with these cards tonight. It's freakish. Again, Ace of Pentacles. Card of Sacred Opportunity here. New starts and new beginnings. Okay, I think this has got to be referring to the Cancer new moon that we just had. So I don't remember your chart, Elizabeth, but we just had... Where's my pointer pen thingy? Hold on. Over here, this is the Cancer season we're in right now. A couple days ago, the sun was here, Venus was here, and the moon was here. And that was on the, 5th? Today is the 7th. So we're still very, very much at the gestation phase of a brand new Cancer new moon. So what I'm sensing here is that this card of Sacred Opportunity indicates new starts, new beginnings, new form of life, a new material version of life that has a slightly different physical, what's the word? Physical, manifestation than what you're used to. Like, you already have a living space. You already have your habits. You already know your strengths. You already know your weaknesses. You have your friends. You have your family and things like that, for better or worse, okay? You have your resources. You're very, very skilled at survival. You already know that. But we're going, with all of this stuff going on, we're talking about profound moments in time, which in a healthy expression correlates to amazing opportunity for evolution, like an evolutionary leap. So in your physical world, that could be in your physical health, for example, with the pentacle here, by living through some of the shocking, painful things that you've had to endure, it's actually made you stronger. Okay? And so by understanding how all this works, this Cancer new moon that we just had could be touching you wherever that part sits in your chart. It could be there, or there, or there, or there, or wherever it is. It's new starts and new beginnings at that part of your life in your world, with the Cancerian energy about love, Venus, thyself, the sun part of yourself in Cancer, and the moon. Moon in Cancer, very, very powerful when the moon is in Cancer. Mercury's close by, but Sun, Moon, and Venus were all very, very tightly aligned right there on the new moon. And at that part of your chart, to me it's an indication it's time. This is it. This is the moment of gestation, of birth. New starts, new beginning in terms of nurturing yourself. Love thyself. Nurture yourself like a goddess and live by example. In other words, prioritize yourself, prioritize your health, your emotions, your sense of home, stability, security, your diet, the way that you look after yourself. You've already made huge advances already, but there is still more. Okay? New starts and new beginnings over here. Nurture. Nurture thyself. Nurturing yourself to improve your health. Remember, This is also correlates to wealth. Now remember that there's a saying, your wealth is in your health. Okay? And there's the card of sacred opportunity, of new starts and new beginnings right there. You see that tiny little horizon on the distance? That's your future right there. But you're constantly living in the now. Okay? All right, let's have a look. What's the problem here? Challenges. Okay. You might have had to endure a very serious mind warp. You just put something on the notes on the screen. I had to get rid of all my friends. So, isn't that strange? Isn't that a total mind warp? Where you come to a realization that your friends may not have been your friends at all. And that people in whom you trusted the energy of friendship realize that they're not worthy of you. I mean, it makes you sound like you're an extremely arrogant, selfish narcissist. But that's not what's going on here. What's happening is a true evolution at the soul, that you really do not need people who might present themselves as a friend, because again, like we talked about earlier, they want what you have. So they want to be your friend because they want to suck this out of you. They don't want to work. They don't want to do the evolution. They don't want to suffer the pain and horrors of evolution that you've endured to get this far and be this person that you are today. They want to piggyback on you to get this by cheating, by stealing. Okay? That's not acceptable. But it's very, very hard for you as a, let's just say, in purity and simplicity, to understand that people who appear to be friends could actually be quite despicable, because their true agenda is nothing to do with friendship at all. And that's a serious mind warp. So how do you proceed? Okay, so let's say you get rid of all your friends. Okay, so how do you proceed? Look at that. It's the Nine of Cups. Okay? What you effectively do is you give yourself permission to be happy in the moment, whatever it takes to be happy right now. That doesn't mean taking drugs, going out and getting drunk, getting laid, stealing something, or doing something nefarious to satisfy like an addiction for fake happiness. What I'm talking about is real happiness in the form of, I don't know how to describe it, owning your own joy, which you already know. Like, this is like a formula that you already know. But the thing is, because of who you are, how you are, why you are, where you are, the way you are, you're still highly vulnerable to theft, because you are evolving. So this energy just gets bigger and stronger. You become stronger and more healthy. Your wealth is in your health. As you become more healthy, you become more wealthy in this life, however you define wealth. A lot of people would define that as being really happy and healthy. So your wealth is in your health, being happy and understanding that by making conscious, deliberate decisions to live by example, excuse me, I'm losing my voice, and live this way, you are a living example of the healing power of love. Living by example, love thyself. Living by example, be loving, be loved. And it's a simple formula. But then you start to realize, wait a minute, why doesn't everybody else do that? It's because it's really hard. Sometimes it's really, really hard to do that, be that, to live by example that way. And not everybody has the strength, the courage, the desire to do it for themselves. They want to piggyback and steal and take short circuits through you. But when you do what you just did, for example, basically liberating yourself Even though it's a bit of a mind warp. Oh, I had to get rid of all my friends. That sounds totally bizarre. Why would anybody want to get rid of your friends? Some people say friends are the real family. Friends are the family that you choose, whereas family, you don't necessarily choose that in the conscious sense. You do that in your soul before you're born. But here in this life, your friends become like your team. And then when you discover that you actually have to get rid of your friends, because it's not really friendship, it's what we described here, that's a mind warp. But again, that's part of your evolution, because now you're basically one step closer to a new level of happiness. So this just grows and becomes stronger. So this becomes a positive feedback loop between here and here, between here and here. This feeds on itself. Okay? You are a living example. Okay? There you go. You just put it on the screen. There you go. Thank you, Elizabeth. I'm really glad you came here tonight. I'm really glad you decided, insisted on having a reading. So I'm going to pull this up, wrap it up here. I'm going to wish everybody a wonderful evening. Thank you for hanging out with me. It's a real privilege to do this for you. And we'll do it again. Okay? And I still owe you one. Okay? Alrighty, here we go. Thank you very much. I'm going to check out pretty rapidly here, because we all have places to go, things to do, people to see, life to live. Okay. Oh, hold on. I want to do this one.